All right, my friends, thanks for joining me. J.R. Dukes. We have a breaking news story that we have to cover. Fantastic news for former President Donald Trump, as reported by The Guardian Online, and it is just now hitting all of the press wires. Former President Donald Trump has, fortunately, last minute, received a substantial reduction in the bond that he had to pay for this Letitia James Bull, you know what, case out of New York State. Remember, this is the case that was brought by Attorney General Letitia James out of New York against former President Donald Trump, and it was rendered by this Judge Engoron. We know how we love Judge Engoron and Letitia James so much. The bond was initially, he was trying to secure $454 million. Fortunately, the appellate court has reduced this by a staggering 61.453% by my math, which is a reduction of $279 million. So the former president only has to come up with $175 million, and that is a substantial victory for Donald Trump. I will have more to say about this very soon. I will tell you that the liberal media, the talking heads, the legacy media, they are going crazy over this story. They are not happy. I heard one of them just a few minutes ago saying Donald Trump slithers away again, catches another lucky break. Remember this, no matter how this particular trial ends up in its conclusion, I can definitely tell you there is a very difficult process for anyone, including the New York Attorney General, to simply take properties from Donald Trump. It sounds easy to take them the way she makes it out to be, but it is not. When you have to go through levy procedures, you're trying to, normally what they try to do is grab your bank accounts. They try to grab cash. They try to go for the easy mark. But when you're trying to take rents, trying to take over buildings that the president's companies might simply lease, or even a building that he owns, but generally he's going to have a lot of debt on the building pertaining to money that the banks have given him. He may have other partners that can be harmed if there was some type of foreclosure in the form of a levy on his buildings. It gets very complicated, and I am 100% confident that Attorney General Letitia James does not know what she's talking about, not even almost close to what she's talking about. Let's take a quick look at this article here in The Guardian. And this was just released, so we're just going to kind of thumb through it here together. All right, just a few seconds ago, appeals court reduces Trump's bond to 175 million, extends deadline. A federal appeals court has reduced the bond Donald Trump must pay in response to a civil fraud judgment in New York City to $175 million. Still a lot of money. I mean, get your mind around that. That is a ton of change. And given him 10 more days to get the money together. So, in other words, the attorney general cannot make good on her threats and move forward to confiscate money out of his checking accounts, this type of thing. Previously, the former president had until today to produce a $454 million bond in response to a judge's finding that he fraudulently manipulated the value of his assets, an amount Trump said he was not able to secure. Yeah, and just remember this manipulation of his assets was essentially par for the course, normal things that real estate investors do in the course of their business, which is to give an opinion on how much they think their real estate is worth. And of course, you have sweet Letitia James, New York Attorney General's response. New York Attorney General's office says Trump is still facing accountability despite reduced bond amount. Wow. Man, she's really doing the will of the people here. I mean, thank God for her, right? In a statement, a spokesperson for New York Attorney General Letitia James said Donald Trump is still liable for paying the full amount of his judgment, even though an appeals court reduced how much he must put up as a bond. And this is a quote, the following quote: Donald Trump is still facing accountability for his staggering fraud. The court has already found that he engaged in years of fraud and falsely inflating his net worth and unjustly enriching himself, his family, and his organization. The $464 million judgment plus interest against Donald Trump and the other defendants still stands. The former president is responsible for 454 million and the total judgment in the case, with the rest to be paid by his co-defendants. So obviously she's trying to put a spin on this because there's no two ways to slice this. This is a victory for former President Donald Trump because once he posts this bond, any type of levy proceedings, any type of garnishments is technically what they call it, to go after his bank accounts, to go after cash, it all stops. And in future videos, I'm going to be talking in detail about just how difficult it is for anyone, including a New York Attorney General, to go after someone's assets because, folks, it's not an easy thing to do. Generally speaking, when you win, let's just say you win a civil suit like the New York Attorney General has done in this particular case, it is effectively another lawsuit to actually collect on property, to collect cash, to basically do what she's threatening Donald Trump with. And it's not easy to do. In addition to that, I have been talking often about what's called wrongful levy. Now, some of you may be familiar with this in the form of IRS taxation, and when the IRS gets it wrong. But there is a cause of action, and it may be called different things in different states. But essentially, it's wrongful levy, and that is where someone that is very zealous and very vindictive and highly motivated, they start enforcing a judgment against somebody when that individual who owes the judgment, their due process rights have not been completely exhausted. So let's just say, for example, and this is hypothetical, but let's say Donald Trump did not post a bond, and yet the state of New York went forward with trying to collect against Donald Trump this staggering and abusive judgment. And let's just say at the end of the day that after it goes through the courts, and let's say it makes it up to the Supreme Court, just for the, just to carry out this example completely, let's say that it's reversed. They look at the Eighth Amendment and they say, no, this fine is ridiculous. It violates the Eighth Amendment. And they either wipe it away or they greatly reduce it. Well, then the state of New York has a serious problem because they have committed at that point wrongful levy against Donald Trump and anyone else who has been harmed. And they are going to be on the chopping block, financially speaking, for some serious, serious damages. The very few cases that I have seen where someone has went forward aggressively with some type of collection to really hammer a judgment, generally it's somebody, as in this case, that hates another person. They're highly motivated. In a way, they don't really care about the money. They care about causing pain and hurting somebody. And obviously, Letitia James, this was a campaign promise. She ran campaigning on this, that I'm going to go every day into the office. I'm going to get Donald Trump. She called him a illegitimate president. She was oftentimes seen and quoted as using extreme profane language in describing Donald Trump. I mean, what is going on here? This is absolutely insanity. So she's clearly motivated. She definitely wants to, in my opinion, it's just election interference. It's just a continuing part of this scheme by the Democrats, by these liberals, to go after and harm Donald Trump. Engage in lawfare is what's going on here. The goal is to try to prevent Donald Trump from being the next president of the United States because, folks, they know if they cannot find a way to stop him, if he ends up all the way going to the ballot box, they know they're going to lose. It's really just that simple. And it's a shame. It is very, very sad for our country. And I'm glad in the sense that this is being exposed because these types of issues have been going on throughout American history. If you are on the wrong side of somebody that's part of this deep state, you can pay a serious penalty, even criminally speaking, if you make the wrong people that are part of the deep state mad at you. And again, this case here is prima facie evidence of exactly what I am talking about. So, folks, if you're still with me, might as well hit the thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe so you get notification anytime and every time I go live or have a video coming out. So, a quick recap, Donald Trump has scored a major victory today, a fantastic victory. He got that bogus $454 million judgment reduced to $175 million, and probably just as important, another 10 days to come up with the money to post the appropriate bonds. And I just think it's fantastic news for Donald Trump and, frankly, for our country and our legal system. So I'll let it go with that. Folks, always say, keep that mind free, never give up. And until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.